What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having a good afternoon out there, good day out there, whenever it happens to be that you are catching this. This is going to be on replay. We will be putting this on YouTube as well. We're going to get into this conversation, this current event that some of you might know about. Maybe you don't know about it, but I'm going to get into it. And if you know about it, it'll be easy for you to follow along what I'm saying. But I'm going to explain what it is. What's going on? Tiff4321, appreciate you. If you like my books, you should get more of them. I don't know how many you got, but we got more. But I hope everybody's having a good afternoon, a good day out there. For those of you not familiar with me, my name is Dre Baldwin, from a 9-year pro athlete, author of 33 books, did 4 TED Talks, created this whole brand called Work on Your Game, taking tools to help athletes get to the top 1% in sports. And we translate those tools over to the business world to help professionals perform at I'm going to start my live on Facebook. Help professionals perform at a higher level, be Let me make sure we start on Facebook. Be more consistent in what they are doing and to make more money. Yes, we're going to talk about this Eboni K Williams situation. And I want to talk about the bigger picture of what got communicated here and what was being expressed here, because there were some things that weren't being, that haven't been talked about. I'm going to talk a little bit about what everybody's been talking about, and then I want to talk a little bit more about some bigger picture details that I think will help everybody just understand exactly what has happened over the last, I don't know when this actually came out. It's probably about a week ago when I first saw this. Let me see. I posted a tweet about this on April 29th, which was about a week ago. And then there was a follow-up. Then there was another follow-up. So I want to get into all of that here in this video. So for those of you not familiar with what happened, this woman named Eboni Williams. I do not know her. I've not heard of her before. She works on this network called The Grio, which also another person who's on there is a guy named Mark Lamont Hill, who I'm not a fan of his. I'm not a fan of his work. He has some very feminine leanings as far as the kind of stuff that he says. And I don't know if he's saying it because he really believes it or he's saying it because he's doing it for the job. You never know with people in media these days. But anyway, what Miss Williams says, she had Ayana Van Zant on her show, and she asked Ayana, she said, or how do we know? Because she said, we as women, how do we find the kind of men that we want to date? Was the long and short of her question. And Ayana said to her, just posed her hypothetical, would you date a bus driver? And Ebony said, well, I would date a bus driver if he owned the bus. And Ayana checked her on that and said, well, no, you have these different standards. You set these standards that you want this man who's all the way up here. And she didn't go into super detail because it was Ebony's show when she was talking about this. But I watched the entire interview. The whole interview was only about 24 minutes. I watched the entire interview, and Ayana was really pointing out a lot of things that this woman, Ebony, actually could probably need. And she was saying it in a nice, compassionate, feminine way, because these are two women having a conversation. And she was saying things that weren't too different than what Mr. Kevin Samuels, who passed away about a year ago, used to say to women. He would say it in a more masculine and a more direct way. But I want to address all of these things because there's a lot to be gotten from this. So let's get right into it. Point number one is this. The bus driver's salary. And because what happened there is this woman said, I wouldn't date a bus driver. I'd date him if he owned the bus. Then she went and, I guess she got a lot of heat on her social media, I guess, for what she had said. So then she put out another video a few days later, and she basically doubled down on what she had said. So I see a lot of people had negative things to say about me and about my background, about my approach. Well, listen, I'm standing on what I'm saying, and this is what it is, because standards are this, and this is what it means, and I'm not okay with people being average. And she brought something up about white supremacy, which I have no idea what that has to do with anything, because she's black and she was talking about black men allegedly. And no, she tried to use some white supremacy deflection. This is what people do when they're trying to deflect off the actual point that's being talked about. And then I watch every interview that the Breakfast Club does, but I did go and look up this interview because I wanted to see what she said on the Breakfast Club. And the Breakfast Club had 4 people on there. It was Charlamagne, DJ Envy, and there was 2 women there who were like guest hosts, I guess. And they all, at different levels, challenged her on her points, and she basically stood on her square. She did stand on her square, so that I give her credit for. She said, "This is what I said. What I said, and I'm standing on it." And she defended herself, and she argued with the people on the Breakfast Club. DJ Envy probably gave the strongest pushback to her, and she was interrupting him, cutting him off, basically talking him down, and basically talked circles around everybody in the Breakfast Club through this conversation. So that's what happened when she was on the Breakfast Club. So with all of that said, it got me thinking about everything that happened here. And I'm not a person who really gets into current events like that, but there's a lot that happened in this conversation that is not only a current event, but is also something that all of us need to keep in mind for more of an evergreen topic. So I'm going to take the current event. We're going to discuss the current event, and then we're going to talk about how this goes to a more evergreen subject. This is both for men and women, and whether it's in dating or anything else, because there's a lot to be extracted from this. First of all, here's the first point. The average bus driver salary in America is around $42,000. I just looked that up. It's around $42,000. That's about average. Average salary in America, you want to be in the 50th percentile of salary earners in America, you need to be around 47 grand. So between 45 and 50 grand gets you about the average salary in America. A bus driver makes about the average salary. All right. And there's nothing wrong with being average. Why? Well, first of all, most people are average. Now, I'm a person who even tells you, look, work on your game. The stuff that we talking about here, work on your game, is for people who have bigger ambitions than being average. People who want to be above making the average salary. You don't want to be like most people. You don't want to be at the bottom of the pyramid. You don't want to be like those people who make up the masses, which means you need to be exceptional. To be exceptional means you have to be an exception. You have to be different than what most people are. And if that's what you aim for, that's fine. If you don't aim for that, that's fine as well. And I say that all the time. If people want to be average, they have a right to be average. Everybody has a right to be who they want to be in life. So if you want to be a person who's making 3, 4, 20 times what the average person makes, that's completely fine. At the same time that you're doing that, you don't need to offer a diss or to shit on the people who are not trying to do that. So if you want to make $500,000 a year and somebody else wants to make $50,000 a year, go make your 500. You don't have to diss the person who's making 50. And that's what she did here. And we're going to get to that in a second, because you don't have to diss those people. And that's exactly what DJ Envy was pushing very hard when she was on the Breakfast Club about this. And Ayanna pushed against it in a compassionate way. Charlamagne pushed against it a little bit. And even the two ladies who were guest hosting on the Breakfast Club, they pushed back on it a little bit. But she stood on this, Miss Williams. She stood on this point, Eboni Williams. She stood on this point that, no, this is what I'm saying. She went and pulled out the dictionary and started giving the definition of the word average and the definition of the word mediocre and said, well, this is what it means. So that's what it means. So that's where I'm at. So what she had done was diss these people. Now, she tried to come out and say, well, I'm not dissing them. I'm just going off the definition of the word. And eventually she got to the point where saying, well, all we're talking about really here is semantics. And she was 100% correct. That is what we were talking about, semantics in that situation. From what I understand from watching her interview with Ayanna Vanzant, that Miss Williams is a lawyer. She's an attorney. And any of you who's familiar with Kevin Samuels' work, and a lot of his work, most of his work is still on YouTube to this day, even though he passed away a year ago. He said this many times. I've seen enough of his videos where he would say this all the time, that he was very wary of women who were, first of all, he talked about people with the advanced degrees. That means you got more than a 4-year degree, postgraduate degrees, PhDs, JDs, law degrees, those doctors, psych, anything that had to do with psychology, and lawyers. Why? Because these women tend to have a certain type of energy. They have a certain type of way of seeing themselves, and they become difficult to get along with. Because this has been taught to many women over the years, that because you have these things, you got these letters after your name or before your name, because you have these things that you've achieved, that they start carrying themselves similar to men. And that's where it becomes an issue. And we're going to get into that further in this conversation. But she went and dissed the people who are bus drivers. She did. And then she tried to go on she made another video following up saying, well, I didn't diss them. I'm just, giving facts. And basically, I'm just stating the facts, is the long and short of what she said. Then she went on the Breakfast Club and tripled down on this and said, well, I'm just stating the facts. She even, again, pulled out the dictionary to make sure that she was being right. That's the first point. Let's move on to the second point. This woman has high expectations of the men that she wants to date, or high expectations of men, period. She was saying in her double down video, hey, I have certain expectations from men, and I expect certain things from men. She has a right to that. You got a right to expect certain things from men. So she's saying for black men, she was talking about black men specifically, and she tried to use the white supremacy thing as a deflection to try to make it seem like, hey, we're all on the same side here. It was a cheap attempt, but she did it. And the thing is, if you have high expectations for a group, that's fine. Go ahead and state it. And she could also have just said, when she was talking to Ayanna, she also could have said this on the Breakfast Club. She also could have said it in her double down video, hey, look, I just want a man who has a certain level of accomplishment and a certain level of resources. She could have just said that. I just want a man who has a certain level of resources. I don't want a man who makes the average salary, because a bus driver makes $42K a year. I don't want a man who makes $42K a year. I want a man who makes closer to $420K a year. That's what I'm looking for. If she had just said that to Ayanna, it would have been all good. And if Ayanna pushed back, she could have said, look, well, this is just the kind of man that I want. I get what you're saying, Ayanna, but look, this is where I'm at. And she could have went on the Breakfast Club and said the same thing. She could have went in her double down video, said the same thing. But she didn't say that. She could have, again, I just want a man who has a certain level of accomplishment. That's what I'm into. That's what I'm interested in. And I'm not interested in anybody else. Now that shrinks her pool of candidates significantly. But that's what she wants. That's what she wants. You have a right to want what you want. But you don't, again, you don't have to diss the people that you don't want in the process of talking about what you do want, which is what she did. And you don't tell people that they have to live up to your standards. And that's basically what she said when she went on her double down, triple down videos, that this is the standard that I have. And if you, and I think all men need to live up to this standard that I'm setting this bar, and all men need to live up to this bar. And she had all these very logical, rational explanations for why. She was saying, well, look, you drive a bus, AI is going to take over. It's going to take your job. Then you won't be able to drive a bus anymore. And then all these jobs are going to not exist. And the lower class is going to get raised. And if you're not able to do these certain things to be in the middle class, then you're not going to be there anymore. Your job's going to go away. She had all these logical, rational, completely making sense explanations for why she was saying the things that she was saying. But the whole point was she still dissed these people in the process of doing it. And the way she was doing it leads to a bigger picture point. And now let's get into the bigger picture point. Now we talked about the details. Point number 3 is this. And we're talking about this would you date a bus driver conversation that happened with Eboni Williams. If y'all didn't see this video, y'all can go look it up. It was going around Twitter. I see my current events through Twitter, whether it's something like this or actual, real life news aside from things like this. But this was interesting to me because it leads to the bigger picture stuff that now I'm going to get to. Here's the bigger picture. She asked this woman, Eboni Williams, she asked Ayana about dating and finding a man because she said she was nearly 40 years of age. She's trying to find the right type of man. And this woman is relatively attractive. She's well known. She has an audience. People know who she is. And if you're you're close to the age of 40 and you're unable to find the kind of mate that you want, and I will apply this to anybody, and I work as a coach. I will say this to a man. I will say it to a woman. You're near the age of 40 and you have a lot of dating experience. And she said that she had a lot of dating experience, hasn't been able to find the right type of individual. The first thing I'm going to say to that person, when they get done explaining to me why they haven't been able to find the right type of person, I'm going to say, all right, you had all that experience. You had this many years in the game. You're relatively attractive. People know who you are. You haven't been able to find the right type of person. Well, the problem is not them. The problem is you. We got to start pause connection. All right. So we're going to start in the mirror. We're going to finish in the mirror. Here at Work on Your Game, for those of you who are not familiar, we always bring the conversation back to number 1, which is the person in the mirror. The problem is not, the men are not living up to their standards, so they can't match me with my crown on. And nowadays, everybody's calling themselves kings and queens. I don't know where that came from and why people are doing that. Whatever. All right, it can't be 1,000 kings and 1,000 queens in one city. But anyway, she's saying men are not living up to their standards, so no, I can't have my crown on straight and whatever the hell she was saying. This language that everybody's using these days, men as well. And this is the thing. If you had all that experience and you still can't find somebody, then the problem is the person in the mirror. There's something about you that's causing the issue. And then she went, and this is what I was thinking when I first heard it. When I first heard her first clip, the clip that was going around social media with her talking to Ayana, I said, okay, so this woman is basically saying, I've had all this experience, but I can't find a man to match what I want. Well, obviously the problem is that's the first thing I was thinking. But I was like, I don't know this woman. I never heard of her before, never heard her talk before, never seen her before. I can't pass that judgment just yet. Then when I saw her double down video where she basically literally doubled down on this point of this is my standard and y'all ain't living up to the standards. And then she went on the Breakfast Club and had a 40-minute conversation and tripled down on it. I said, okay, yes, that it confirms what I was already thinking. This woman is what we call an alpha female. And you know what an alpha female is? All you heard of alpha male before, right? This woman is an alpha female. And if you don't know what I mean by that, go watch her interview on the Breakfast Club and you'll understand why she's an alpha female. What is an alpha female? You might know what an alpha female is. I'll give you a very simple example. I'll give you a very simple explanation of what an alpha female is. An alpha female is a woman in a man's body. That's what she is. This woman, Eboni Williams, and this is not a diss of her, she would probably agree with me. If she was watching this, she'd probably agree with me. She is a woman in a man's body. And if you don't understand, if you only saw that clip that was going around, that clip probably was on TikTok, Instagram. It's probably on all the apps. I don't really watch. I don't scroll through TikTok or Instagram. Only app I scroll on is Twitter because I look at that as my news feed. I don't scroll through Instagram either. But So any of y'all who look at IG or Twitter or not Twitter, TikTok or Facebook, y'all might have seen this on these apps. If you only saw that clip, you might not understand this because Ayana was doing most of the talking. But if you go watch her interview on the Breakfast Club and look at how she's conducting herself. Now I understand it was 4 hosts on the show. It was Envy and Charlamagne. Then they had 2 guest hosts. So it's 4 people all questioning her about the things that she said. And this clip is going around the internet and she's basically defending herself and tripling down on her point. But if you just look at her energy, I'm like, this is an alpha female. Like, that's what she is. She's an alpha female. She conducted herself. It's like this. Let's say I went on the Breakfast Club, right? And there was a clip on the internet that I had said something, and Envy and Charlamagne and the 2 guest hosts wanted to challenge me on what I said because they didn't quite agree on what I said, and they were challenging me. So somebody said something, I responded to them. Another person says something, and they say something, and I feel like I'm kind of like facing a firing squad, and I got to defend myself, and I feel like I'm right. I feel like my point is right no matter what they say, and I'm just defending myself against all the hosts. What she did on the Breakfast Club is what I would have did had I been in that position defending myself with something that I believe that I was right about. All right, so she's not wrong in what she did. She did exactly kind of what I would do if I had to defend myself, and I'm talking to 4 different people, and they all are kind of pushing back against me on some level. She did the same thing I would do. Now, why am I pointing that out, and what makes this different? What makes it different is I'm a fucking man. She's a woman. She's carrying herself like a man. She did what I would have did if I had been on the Breakfast Club, but she's a woman. I'm a man. She's an alpha female. She's carrying herself like a man would if he had to go and do that in that situation. Can you imagine? Let me ask you all a question. And you see this, go watch the Breakfast Club interview and ask yourself, could you imagine being in a disagreement with a woman like this? Could you imagine having a disagreement with her about how are we going to do the laundry? A disagreement about how we're going to raise our child. Oh, don't even get me started on that. A disagreement with her about, where we're going to go for dinner. A disagreement with her about who's going to sleep on which side of the bed. A disagreement with her about how the sex life is going. A disagreement with her about anything, about how you're driving. She's in the passenger seat. She don't like the way you're driving. She starts critiquing. Another pause connection there. Can you imagine men who are watching this? Women, actually, you too. Men who saw that interview. Can you imagine being in a disagreement with a woman like this? How would you live? How would you survive? You wouldn't. And Ayana pointed this out at the very beginning of the interview. You watched the full interview she did with Ayana Vanzant. It was only about 23 minutes. Ayana pointed out immediately, because Ayana Vanzant said herself, I didn't know this, she used to be a lawyer herself. They're both lawyers. I think Ms. Williams is still a lawyer. I don't know. She has a TV show. I don't know what else she does. But Ayana pointed out from the beginning, we're both from the legal profession. And Ayana said, I had to get out of that industry because being in that industry kept me out of my female frame. It kept me out of my feminine. It had me in my masculine. It had me very aggressive. It had me carrying myself like a man would carry himself. I had to get out of that so I could step into my female. She said that directly in the interview. Ayana said that. And she said, we get in our masculine. We're very aggressive. We be very hard. And I even said this on Twitter today when I was talking about this interview that I saw with Ayana. If Ayana Vanzant offers any type of coaching, or let's just call it coaching, this woman, Eboni Williams, needs to be her first client. All right, she needs to sign up with coaching with Ayana, because Ayana was pointing out every issue that this woman, Eboni Williams, has that either she knows she has or she doesn't know she has, or either way, she's cool with it because she was very proud of herself. If you watch the Breakfast Club interview, she was very proud of the way she conducted herself and defended herself and faced the squad of people coming at her and pushing back against her with all the things that she was saying, all the things that they were questioning on her. Because, and let me be clear about this, this is not Dre's opinion. This is not Dre saying this is what she needs to do with her life because this is what I think is wrong with her. No. Let me be clear. The only reason that this popped off is because Eboni Williams started the conversation with Ayana, or started this clip. And it's not the whole conversation, but in the clip, she said, how do I find the right type of man? Because I've dated a whole bunch of different types of men. None of them are living up to what I'm looking for in a man. That's what she said. Eboni Williams said that. And this is when Ayana gave her the response, well, would you date a bus driver? And that's where this whole thing came from. So if her goal is to actually meet the type of man that she wants, which clearly is not a bus driver earns $42,000 a year. It's average American salary. She doesn't want the man making average. So let's say she wants a man making 3 or 4 times average. Let's say she wants a man making $250K. Let's just say that. You want a man making $250K a year. That's a man with resources. That's also a man with options. A man making $250K a year has choices. He can choose the woman that he wants. He doesn't get picked by a woman. He picks the woman. That's the way it works. Men have access to the relationships. So that man can pick whoever he wants. if she wants to date a man who could pick whatever woman that he wants, she can't carry herself like a man. That doesn't make any sense. Because a man who has resources, and they don't want to come home to that. I want to come home to a woman I got to argue with. I want to come home to a woman who carries herself like a man all day and has this man energy. And now I can't even get a word in edgewise talking to her about anything because she got to be right about everything. But she's a lawyer, so she does this all day. All right, this is what she does all day. It's her full-time job, and she's near 40 years old. And she talked about how in her background, her mom didn't always do everything the right way. Her dad didn't always do everything the right way. There were times she didn't have resources. And Dr. Boyce Watkins pointed this out. I saw a video where he was talking about this a little bit. He mentioned this woman has a lot of fear within her. That's what this is. And we're going to get to that in a second. So Ayana versus relationships. Yeah, I know. I can hear it. Ayana pointed out every single weakness that this woman, Eboni Williams, has. She did it in like 3 minutes. She pointed out all this women's weaknesses and insecurities in 3 minutes. And she needs to hire Ayana. Honestly, she needs to hire her and hire her as a coach if she's trying to meet an actual man that she wants to meet. She wants to meet a man with resources, she can get them. Otherwise, she does have another option. Let me be clear about this. She does have another option when it comes to dating. Now, she wants to date a man, and she has her stance and her energy. If she wants to stay in that energy, here's the type of man that she's going to get. She's going to get a feminized man. That some of you women and men like myself, we would call these men. We call these men pussies. That's what she's going to meet. She's going to meet a feminized pussy man, which means what? This is a man who has no backbone, a man who allows his woman to run him in the relationship. She runs the house, the woman who can walk all over him when she feels like it. And typically, in my experience, for what I've seen from women and men, women who date men like that usually lose respect for the man. But even though they may stay in a relationship, they lose respect for the man because the man has no backbone. He doesn't really have a stronghold. He doesn't have a leg to stand on or a foundation to stand on in a relationship because the woman has more masculine energy than he does. I was watching this. I saw this documentary. It was Paris Hilton. I think it was on Netflix. This was a couple of years ago. And Paris Hilton was talking about how she had dated a bunch of dudes and she would date some guys. And because of her fame, her level of fame and notoriety, she would date these dudes who she would kind of like start dictating to them what she wanted them to do and when and where and how. And they would just go along with whatever she said. And she said, when I date a guy and they start going along with anything that I say, then I lose respect for them because they just let me walk all over them. I had no respect for them. And any woman would probably feel that way if you kind of you try your guy, you test him just to see what he's going to do when you kind of go a little bit over you cross the line, you step over the line just to see how he responds to it. And if he doesn't check you and he allows you to do it and he allows you to keep stepping over the line, eventually you lose respect for him. And it's the same thing that happens when men are dealing with other men. I'm not meaning in dating, but when you're dealing with other men, when we hang out with each other, we're in a locker room and doing stuff, and somebody crosses the line with a man in that room, and then everybody else crosses the line, and everybody's crossing the line with you. You just keep letting everybody cross the line. You don't check anybody. Then people lose respect for you because you don't have a line. You don't have any standards. So this is the same thing that happens in relationships when a woman tries a man and you don't know what I mean when I say tries him, she steps over that line with him and he doesn't do anything, he just lets it go. That's the kind of man you get. And then you lose respect for the man, and then you're on TV talking about, well, men aren't living up to my expectations. Well, there's a reason why the men that she's dated aren't living up to her expectations, because I bet this is not new. This masculine energy that she has, this ain't new. She's dated men. She's shown up with that masculine energy. She basically could talk circles around any man. She could argue any man down. Nobody can get a word in edgewise with her. She wins every argument. She wins every conversation, however she wants to get it. And then because she does that over and over again, what happens with a man is they're like, you know what? I'm not going to keep trying to argue with this bitch. I'm going to just let it go. And I'm not calling her a bitch. I'm just saying this is the way a man is thinking. This is the conversation he's having in his mind. I'm not going to keep arguing with this bitch. I'm going to just let her be right. I'm going to just let her make her point. And then he just stops trying to go back and forth with her. He just lets her have her way. And eventually, because she sees that, she loses respect for him because he's not fighting back. But here's the thing, everybody. A man does not want to be in a relationship with a woman he has to fight with. I don't have to fight with the woman I'm in a relationship with, especially, let's be clear, a man who has resources, a man who's making $250K a year, he's in the top 98% of income earners in America. He ain't got to be in a relationship with a woman he got to fight with. Why would he? He can pick any woman that he wants. He has options. She's 39 years of age. She's almost 40. A man who's that age group, I'm in that age bracket. A man who's in that age group who has resources can pick any woman from the age of fucking 21 to 40. He can pick any woman that he wants. I'm not saying any woman walking down the street, but he has a lot of choices. As men get older, their options, especially when they have resources, as men get older, their options increase. As women get older, their options decrease. Why? Because men's options are based on their resources, and usually men have more resources the older they get because they have more experience. They've been longer in their business, longer in their careers. They make more money. As women get older, they are chosen by their looks and their fertility. They have less of each as they get older, so they have fewer options, and everybody knows this. Some women don't want to admit this, but this is true. This is 100% how it works. So this woman, as she gets older, her options are decreasing, but she's looking at herself like she has more options because she is career-wise successful. Let's just say that she's making at least that much money or more money, and she's looking at herself like, look, I'm a PhD, I got my, or whatever degrees she has, I got these degrees, I got this money, I got this status, I had these accomplishments, so a man should want me. But what she's getting wrong, and this is what a lot of people were mistaught, males and females, is that, and mostly females, let me back up, mostly females, was that your accomplishments and your resume is what makes you attractive to a man. No, it doesn't. Your accomplishments and resume do not make you attractive to a man. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have accomplishments. Doesn't mean don't go to school. Doesn't mean don't get a job or have a career. Whatever it is you want to do, ladies who are watching this, whatever you want to do with yourself, go ahead and do it. But as a man, I'll speak for myself. As a man, if I'm looking at a woman, I don't give a damn how much money you make. I got another pause connection there. As a man, I don't give a damn how much money you make. I don't care where you work. I don't care what advanced degrees you have. I don't care how many followers you got on social media. Actually, the fewer the better. All of that, I don't care about any of that. I don't care about that stuff. None of that stuff is what I'm judging you. I'm looking at you like, can this woman bear children? Number one. Would I want you to be the mother of my children? Number two. And am I physically attracted to you? Number three. And number four, are you feminine? Because I have masculine energy. I'm masculine. I have the testosterone in the relationship. Do you have estrogen, and are you feminine? Do you have feminine energy? I don't want any testosterone in a woman. Any woman that got testosterone, I don't want to be dating a woman who would get in a fist fight with anybody, a male or a female. I don't want to date a woman who wants to argue me down and prove herself right. I don't want to date a woman who wants to talk me down and she's going to win every argument and every conversation. I'm not trying to date a woman who has any of that, because all of those are masculine traits. Men, we want to win. We want to conquer. We want to dominate. We want to assert ourselves. Any woman who's trying to do that, I'm not interested. And men with resources, this is the way that we think. I'm not interested in a woman who has it. I don't care about your resources. She's positioning herself as if she's in competition with men. You're not in competition with men. And that's what she's missing. But she's presenting herself as, hey, I have all these things. And then she went on her double down video, the solo video. Then she went on the Breakfast Club and tripled down on this. I have these resources. I have this ability. I have this assertion, this dominance, this masculinity, this testosterone. And she proved herself to have all of these things. She successfully proved that she has all of these traits. And that's what we call a Pyrrhic victory. Any of you know what a Pyrrhic victory is? A Pyrrhic victory is the kind of win that you get that even though you won, you lost. Because everything you did to win actually put you in a worse situation. So you won the battle, but you lost the war. And that's what she did to herself when she went on the Breakfast Club. So she wants to meet a man with resources, allegedly, because she won't date a bus driver. She's relegated to feminized men. And usually, I'm not saying this is always the case, but usually feminized men who are not as direct, they're not as aggressive, they're not as hard driven, they're not as assertive, they don't have as much masculine energy. These men usually are not the ones who are producing the most. They're usually the ones who they're not the ones at the top of the accomplishments list, the achievements list. These are not the men at the top of the totem pole. Why? Because they don't have the aggression to do battle with the men who do have that energy. So they usually are the ones who are lower on the totem pole. These are the bus drivers. These are the men. I'm not saying all men who are bus drivers are this, but these are the men who are a little bit lower in the accomplishments pole because they can't outcompete the men with the testosterone and the energy and the ones who are willing to go take something. These are the men kind of willing to be waiting to be handed something. This is the kind of men that she can get with her energy. You get in a relationship, you need a masculine and a feminine. Any relationship, even gay people, there's a masculine and there's a feminine in any relationship. She has all the masculine. So how are you going to date a man with masculine energy? You can't. It's like two men in a relationship who both attracted to women. A man who's attracted to a woman does not want to date a masculine energy woman. Why? Because where's the femininity? There is none. Two men in the house. It's like roommates. That's what happened in that relationship. Let's move on to point number 4. And we're talking about this Eboni K Williams, would you date a bus driver situation. Those of you who haven't seen it, y'all should go look up the videos. See the interview with Ayan. Let's see the interview on the Breakfast Club. Watch the full interview so y'all understand what I'm talking about. Point number 4. The man with resources, I kind of talked about this already, usually a man who has masculine energy, a high amount of masculine energy, does not tolerate a woman with masculine energy. This is not going to work. Like, y'all not even going to make it past the first date. Like, if I met her, let's say she's physically attractive, she's attractive enough. I see her in the street. I stop her, start talking to her. We go on a date. At the end of the first date, I'm like, no way we're going on a second date. This ain't happening. This is not happening. Now, we can have sex if we're physically attracted, but there ain't gonna be no relationship. Why? Because she has this masculine image. She can't turn it off. That's the issue. She can't turn this off. She could. She would need some coaching. She would need some therapy to turn this off, but she can't turn it off because she had a golden opportunity to turn it off and actually show her feminine side on that Breakfast Club interview, and she decided to triple down on going the masculine route. And again, she wants these men who are high achievers and high accomplishment men. High accomplishment men, you know what they want? They want their inverse. They want a feminized woman, a strong feminine energy woman, because they already got the masculine. All the masculine is taken care of. That's all handled over here. The 100% of the masculine is handled by the man. Now we need the 100% of the feminine to balance it out. Now you got masculine too. Well, we got an issue. All right, it's two of us here. All right, and what happens when a unstoppable force meets an immovable object? All right, now we got conflict. That's what's going to happen in any relationship with a masculine woman trying to get with a masculine energy man. And she tripled down on her masculinity, which proves, here's what it proves, that she doesn't accept the fact that she needs to step into her feminine to meet the kind of man that she says that she wants. Again, she don't want the bus driver, she wants the bus owner. The bus owner is a guy with resources. And the guy to have that kind of resources and to go out every day, he leaves his house, he goes out into the world and he fights and he dominates and he conquers and he asserts himself so he can have resources. He wants to go home and he doesn't want to have to fight when he gets in the house. He wants to relax when he gets in the house, and he needs feminine energy that will aid and allow for that relaxation. He ain't gonna get it from her? Did y'all see the interview? He ain't gonna get it from her. She ain't providing that. She's not offering it. She ain't marketing it. She's marketing her masculine. She had a golden opportunity. Another pause connection there. I never heard of this woman before. I never seen her before. I saw this clip, and then she put all the attention got on her. So she had about a week's worth of attention on her. She could have did or said anything she wanted to say. And with that golden opportunity, she tripled down on how masculine she is. This is a blown opportunity. That's what she did. She blew this opportunity because she could have easily marketed herself in her feminine, and it would have attracted some men with masculine energy who would have said, okay, she's attractive. She's well-spoken. You know what? I'm interested. But she just blew that. She just took all those men and just turned them away and sent them in another direction with everything that she did over the last week. And she's smart enough to get it. She just doesn't accept it. I believe this woman is very intelligent. I listened to her on the Breakfast Club. She got all this right here. She got plenty of that. So she's an intelligent person. She ain't no dummy. So she logically understands everything that I'm saying here. She just has chosen not to accept it because she's bought so much into this energy that she don't want to go in another direction, even though she has a choice. Point number 5, how being right makes you wrong. And this is what I touched on a moment ago. When she doubled and tripled down on this in her solo video, she basically said, I'm setting the bar for men and you have to clear this bar and meet my standards. That's what she said. She said, I have certain expectations for, I believe she said black men. And she did say black men because then she went on and said something about white supremacy, which has nothing to do with this conversation. So she mentioned something about white supremacy. I'm setting the bar for black men. Those of you who think something's wrong with what I said, clearly you have been basically poisoned by this concept of low expectations, and mediocrity has been set upon black people, and that may be your problem and you need to check yourself. This is what she said in the video when she doubled down on what she said. What she did was she turned off a slew of successful men, the bus owners. She turned them off when she did this. When she said, I'm setting the bar for you, and in order for you to be acceptable, you got to live up to my bar. So all the bus owners, they heard that and they said, okay, no thank you. A man who goes out and creates the level of success that she's alluding to wanting doesn't get told by a woman what standards he needs to live up to. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know if she has any men who have created success in their lives as a friend who can look her in her face and tell her the truth. Sounds like she doesn't. Sounds like she uses to basically talk in circles around everybody she talks to. So I don't think she has any men who are of means, who are of masculinity, who could tell her anything. Because if they did, one of them would have told her this by now. Because what she said was crazy. You don't tell a man who has already created success, hey, he got to live up to your bar to be acceptable to you. Like, bitch, who are you? And again, I'm not saying her personally, but I'm saying this is what a man is thinking in his head. He may even say it out his mouth, like I just did. Like, who are you to tell me what standard I got to live up to for you? You know how many options I got? I need to live up to your standard? Are you joking? I don't need to live up to your standard. You got way fewer options than I got. All right, we both the same age. We both got resources. I got way more choices than you got. Who are you to tell me what standard I got to live up to? That's ridiculous. And again, if she had anybody real in her life who could actually put her in her place, then she would be told this. But clearly, nobody has told her that, or she has just decided to ignore it because, let's be clear, Ayana told her in a compassionate female way, and she completely ignored that, and she just went and doubled and tripled down on everything that she was saying. As I said, she blew a golden opportunity just to prove how right she was. And if you saw the reel that I posted on IG and Facebook here today, being right sometimes is the dumbest thing you can do. Being right is the most wrong thing you can do sometimes in life, because you create a Pyrrhic victory. Everything you did to be right, all the bridges that you burned in proving yourself right, now you can't cross them and you're stuck in your rightness. So by proving herself right, she not only dissed all the bus drivers, the average guys who she doesn't want, she also made herself undesirable by the bus owners, the guys who she says she wants. So now the bus owners don't want her. The bus drivers, she dissed them. She said they ain't good enough. So now you're stuck by yourself, which is where this whole thing started. So she put herself deeper into the hole that she was already in. The hole she was in was, I can't find the right type of man. Then she had the spotlight on her. The whole world was paying attention to her, and she tripled down on the very thing that got her into the position that she's already in. Everybody get what I'm saying here? This is what she did. A masculine man does not date a woman who carries herself with this wall of masculine energy. It does not happen. Let me ask you a question about this woman from what y'all saw. Y'all saw the Breakfast Club interview, and you saw the Breakfast Club interview. Let me ask you a question about Eboni K Williams. All right, I want just your hypothetical answer. When's the last time she lost an argument? When's the last time Eboni K Williams was in an argument with a man and lost the argument? The man just out-talked her, talked her down, shut her down, had more points than her, was more right than her, was smarter than her, was quicker with the tongue than she was, and she just had to succeed and say, you know what, damn, you got me on that. She didn't have to say that, but she basically shut up. When's the last time somebody shut her up in a conversation? How many years do you think have passed since the last time somebody shut her up in a conversation? If you saw the Breakfast Club interview, I want you to answer this question. So if you're watching this on replay, it'll be on YouTube and all that. You're watching this on YouTube, I want you to watch the Breakfast Club interview, to come back and leave a comment and tell me, when's the last time somebody shut this woman up in a conversation? She just got out-talked by anybody, male or female, anywhere in her life. I bet, she says she's 40 years of age or close to 40 years of age. I bet it's been over a decade. I bet she probably can't even remember last time somebody out-talked her. When's the last time she had a man put her in her place verbally? When's the last time that happened? I bet she couldn't even remember. She couldn't even tell you. And as a matter of fact, she wouldn't allow it. Because if you watch the Breakfast Club interview, DJ Envy challenged her a couple times. Like, yo, you're dissing these because DJ Envy does real estate. He talked about, look, there's a bunch of people who come to my real estate seminars and work with my real estate company. They work full-time jobs. These are guys making 50 grand a year, 60 grand a year. But they're doing real estate on the side. They keep their full-time job. Nobody even knows about the real estate they're doing on the side. They keep their job because of the benefits, because of the pensions that they get when they retire. They work there for 20 years, get their 20-year retirement. Now they got their real estate, and they get their benefits that come with working a full-time job and being a quote-unquote average individual. You dissed them by saying what you said, and she tripled down by saying, no, I didn't diss them. Let me give you the definition of what it means to be average. And she basically tripled down on it, tripled down on why she was right. So she dissed all the people who got rich. She dissed the people who are not the bus owners, and I mean the bus drivers. She dissed the bus drivers, and then the bus owners are looking at that like, no, I'm not dating that. Somebody's gonna put a ring on that? Are you joking? Why? Why would you put a ring on that? What would happen if she gets mad at you and she decides she wants to divorce you? What you gonna get out of that? What you gonna get out of that? And what's gonna happen when y'all have kids and y'all disagree on how y'all are raising your son or your daughter? And you got to have a conversation with her about it. What's going to happen? Again, I want y'all to understand, this is how men think when we're looking at a woman. Like, what's going to happen when things ain't working with this chick? All right, this is just the introduction to her. Your introduction to her is that? Are you joking? Like, she needs an intervention. Like, somebody really needs to call her and be like, yo, do you understand how many bridges you burn every time you keep talking? So her greatest asset, and I watched the Breakfast Club interview. You didn't watch it, please watch it so y'all understand everything I'm talking about. Mrs. Williams' greatest asset is not, she's, again, she's physically attractive enough. Okay. Her greatest asset is her mouthpiece. Her greatest asset is her ability to speak. She is articulate. She is quick with the words. She's quick with the wit. You can't talk her down. She wants to win an argument. She's winning. All right. She's the type of person that it would be fun for her, somebody like myself, to talk with her, because we would be going back and forth. Like, we could go back and forth and argue for 8 hours straight. Neither one of us is going back down. And that is her greatest attribute, is her mouthpiece, but it's also her greatest liability, because ain't no man who has resources putting up with that shit. As a matter of fact, we're not even getting into it with a woman like that, because we can see that coming a mile away. Oh, hell no. You watch that Breakfast Club interview, I'm like, hell no. And listen, Envy and Charlamagne are both men. They couldn't even talk to her, and they ain't even in a relationship with her. Every time DJ Envy started to make his point, she interrupted him and basically talked him down and stood on her square while she was right and while he was wrong. And he's the host of the show. He couldn't even make his point without her interrupting and shutting him down about why she was right and he was wrong. Ladies, any of you who's watching this, a man who has resources is not interested in this at all. At all. Number 6, this is my last point. And we're talking about this Eboni K Williams situation here. Dr. Boyce pointed this out in the video that he did. And this is before I had seen the full interviews of the other stuff. And Dr. Boyce Watkins said there was clearly a lot of fear in her, the way she presents herself. There's a lot of fear there. Anytime you run into a man or a woman who has so much of this bravado, especially with a woman, all of this masculine energy, all of this, hey, this is where I got another pause connection. This is where I stand. I'm on my square, and you're not going to knock me off my square, and I'm right and you're wrong. And she's pulling out the damn dictionary in the conversation. Again, that's something that I would do in a conversation. And she's doing all the things that you would expect a man to do in a conversation. Usually that facade is hiding a whole bunch of fear. There's a whole lot of fear there. And again, Dr. Boyce is the first person I heard point this out. And she talked about in her full interview that, yeah, my mom drove a bus and my dad, I can't remember what her dad did, but she comes from average stock. Her family were average people. And listen, my parents were average people as well. But she has a ton of fear. There's a lot of fear when it comes maybe to finances and success. And that's why she went and created all that success for herself. But now that very thing that she created to save herself from the fear is the exact thing holding her back from getting what she claims she wants, was to meet the right type of man. A woman in her masculine is usually in a state of fear. That's fear. That's what that is. And she learned somewhere that if she just went and got a lot of resources for herself, or create a lot of success for herself, whatever that may be for her, then she would be protected. And she's protected so much that now she can't even let anybody in. Because again, any man with any masculine energy can't help her, because she got all the masculine. Only kind of man she could get is a feminine one, but she don't want them. So again, she's like in this catch-22. So she hides this fear behind this exterior of toughness and I'm right and aggression, and nobody can talk her off her square. And again, you watch the Breakfast Club interview and it's like, do you understand what you're actually doing here? This is the same thing that fearful men do. The difference is a fearful man who gets into his toxic masculine energy. There are extremely feminine women who actually like that. There are feminine women who like a man who can get into his toxic, man who is like the type of dude who's real aggressive, kind of dude who might get in a fight with somebody, kind of guy who's always arguing, kind of guy with his chest out all the time. There are women who like that. There are women who are attracted to men like that. Doesn't necessarily mean the man's going to create any type of success, but there are women who like that kind of energy, because there's a balance of poles. You got the feminine, extreme feminine, you got the extreme masculine. That works. So this can be beneficial in some ways for a certain type of men. There are women who like this, but in women, this causes you to be single. All right, that toxic masculinity in a woman makes you single, because the men who have more feminine energy, you don't want them, because they're looking at them like, this dude is too soft. I don't want this dude. He's soft. He's weak. The men you like, the men who have the masculine energy, they're looking at you. You like them, but they're looking at you like, yo, what can I provide for you? You got all the masculine. You got all the masculine you need. What do I bring to the table? If I'm looking at her, let's say I'm a single man, I'm walking out and I see her and I have a conversation with her, or I see the way she presents herself, I'm like, well, I can't offer this woman anything. Everything that I offer, she got. she got the dick. Now, what can I offer her? She got the balls. She got the testosterone. What can I bring to the table to this woman? And what can she give me? Because what I'm looking for as a man, I'm looking for some feminine energy. I want feminine energy from a woman. Well, she ain't got any. What's she gonna do for me? She can't do nothing for me. I can't do nothing for her. We could be friends. We could be cool. We could bounce ideas off of each other. We could go to the bar and have a beer. I don't even drink beer, but you get what I'm saying. We can have a conversation and shoot the breeze with each other, but I can't offer you anything intimately. You can't offer me anything. We both got penises. I ain't interested. What do you have that I want? We got another pause connection here. So she ain't got nothing that I want. And I don't really have anything. Well, I do have something that she wants. She wants a man who has some level of attainment, some level of status. Fine. But yo, you ain't offering anything in exchange. And that's the issue with this whole conversation. So in women, this toxic masculinity in a woman causes you to be single, even if you are successful. So with all that said, who has anybody have anything they want to add or share to this conversation? And with everything that I said here, I think y'all can all see this is not I didn't make this is not a diss of her. I'm dissing her actions based on what she says she wants. And this is all based on what she says she wants. So if she had just said these things and not said, hey, I'm looking for a man who has a certain level of resources, because that's what she said. She indirectly said it by saying she wouldn't date the bus driver because she wants a man. And then she doubled down by saying, well, if you got a problem with me not wanting the bus driver, that's because you've been tainted by white supremacy, again, which has what to do with this? Nothing. And low expectations and no mediocrity. And she's pulling out dictionaries on TV shows. And she was on the Breakfast Club. It was funny. She had her book sitting in front of her while she was on the Breakfast Club. So I guess she was going there to ostensibly to promote her book. They never mentioned the book, the whole interview. They talked for the interview was about 45 minutes. The book never got mentioned because she got so quickly into her masculine and defending herself and basically busting her gun on everybody on the Breakfast Club. She never even mentioned her book. She never even got around to talking about business, which is, hey, I got a book out. Why don't anybody go read my book? Well, nobody needs to read your book. We already know who you are. We already see what you're about. Who wants to read that book? A woman who wants to be masculine? Is a man going to read that? Well, the bus drivers ain't reading it because you just dissed them, so they ain't buying your book. The men who have resources, they ain't reading it because they're not interested in your masculine energy. Who are you selling your book to? Who's the audience for this book? So I believe overall that I think that Mrs. Williams successfully proved that what she stands for or whatever square she stands on, she's on it and you ain't getting her off it. I think she successfully proved that. I also believe that in proving that, she actually put herself in a worse position than she claims she wants to be in based on her desired outcomes. I think again, it's a Pyrrhic victory. She won and lost at the same time. And she lost a lot more than she won based on her her stated desired outcomes. Anybody have anything they want to add or ask to this? Go ahead and put it in the comment section. I'll recap my points here. I'll put this on YouTube. I think that's where once people get to see all the interviews, because y'all got to see all the other interviews to make all this make sense for you. Average salary in America is around 45 to 50K. Bus driver makes around 42K. There's nothing wrong with being average. Most people are average. If you don't want average people around you, that's completely fine, but you don't have to diss average people. You can say, look, work on your game university. I'm not looking for people who want to stay average. I'm looking for people who want to make 6 figures, 7 figures a year. If you don't want to make 6 or 7 figures, that's fine. This ain't for you. I'm not dissing you. There's nothing wrong with you. You got a choice to do whatever you want to do with your life. You want to make 50K and you're good with 50K. I'm good with it too. You have a right to live how you want to live. I don't have to diss you to just say, look, what I'm looking for is not what you're doing. If you want to do if you want to come into my world, this is where you got to be. That's fine. But I don't have to diss you in the process. She dissed them. And again, she could have just slipped up in saying it the way that she said it because she probably wasn't prepared for the question from Mayana. But then she doubled and tripled down on it, which means she believes it and she's standing on it and she's proud of it. And that's where she messed up. And second point, you have high expectations for men in general. That's fine. Just say you want a man who has resources, but don't go and again say that people have to live up to your standards because again, as soon as you start talking like that, the immediate reaction you're going to get from people is, well, who the hell are you to tell me what I got to do? Who are you to tell me what standards I have to live up to? Why do I have to live up to your standards? Who are you? Who are you? And that's where the blowback came from. The fact that she doubled down on it and basically said, well, here's where I'm at and you got to do what I say in order to meet my level. And if you don't meet my level, then obviously there's something wrong with you. That's what she said. She said this out of her mouth. I'm not making these points up. Number 3, bigger picture. She asked Ayana about dating a man at nearly 40 years of age. She's nearly 40. She's attractive enough. She's known. It's not the man, it's you. You're around age 40 and you can't find the right mate and you are socially active, which she is. She has a TV show. So it's not like she's some nobody who's been locked in the house. She's known. and you can't meet the right type of man, and you're announcing I can't meet the right type of man, well, that's something with you. You got to look at yourself there. That's the issue. The issue is not them. The issue is you. And that would be with anybody. If a man said that to me, I would say the issue is not the women, bro. The issue is you. There's something with you we need to fix. Doesn't mean we can't fix it, but we're not going to point the finger. We're going to look in the mirror. So Ayana pointed these things out, that you're in your masculine, you're aggressive, you're hard. And again, she needs to hire Ayana as her personal coach. Ayana could help her very easily. I doubt she will listen to a man, so she needs to hire a woman. Ayana pointed out all her insecurities in about 3 minutes. If you watch that interview, in 3 minutes, Ayana pointed out all that woman's insecurities. Hopefully she was listening. Number 4, man with resources usually has masculine energy. He does not tolerate masculine energy in a woman. He won't even date her. So he won't have to dump her because they ain't never going to start dating in the first place. And I think Miss Williams is smart enough to understand this. I think she just emotionally does not want to accept it. Number 5, how being right makes you wrong. When you triple down on I'm setting the bar, you got to clear this bar. And if you're a bus driver and the only people who are at my level are the bus owners, the bus owners said, well, who the fuck are you? Again, this is what the bus owner said. Who the fuck are you? I can pick any woman that I want. I got 10 times more options in women than you have options in men. Why do I need to live up to your standard? That's the real question that she needs to really think about, which she clearly has not considered because she's so focused on herself and where she's at. She's not even understanding the game that she's in, which is you're trying to get men who could have their pick amongst women who are much younger than you, much more feminine than you, and much more agreeable than you. All that disagreeable, arguing, I'm right, you're wrong, pulling out the dictionary, shouting people down, talking circles around people. No man with resources needs to deal with that. It's not even that he won't. He doesn't need to. Why does he need to? When he can pick a woman who's agreeable, feminine, younger, and will just get along with him a whole lot better and follow his plan. Why does he need to convince anybody to do anything? He doesn't, because he has options. And she needs to get that part. When she gets that part, I think everything changes. And number 6, as Dr. Boyce pointed out, there's a whole lot of fear in her presentation. All right, that facade of masculinity is all fear. A woman presenting herself in masculine is either she's a lesbian who just has a whole bunch of masculine energy, that's her normal state, or if there's a woman who actually is attracted to men like this woman is, that's just fear. That's just a fear facade that she has in front of her. She's a toxic masculine woman, and toxic masculine women usually end up single because the more agreeable men who would allow it, she don't want them, and the more masculine men who wouldn't allow it, they ain't tolerating it. So she's stuck between a rock and a hard place. So with all that said, that's what I got to say on this point, on this story. And the bigger picture for this is for all you ladies, as you are out there looking for your man, whoever it's going to be. If you're looking for a man who has resources, men who have resources want a woman who is agreeable, who is physically attractive, and who will go along with his program. He's looking for a woman who has feminine energy, not all this masculine shit. So do not carry yourself like a fucking man. A man who has resources does not want to date another man, or at least not the heterosexual ones. And men out there, as your options increase, and usually this happens as you get older and you increase your accomplishments and your resources, you move further in your career. If you're an ambitious type of individual, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. All right, you wouldn't date a woman like this, so why would you? For what? Now you got choices. You got 100 other choices waiting right behind her. Why would you date her? You have no reason to. And what man wants to date a woman he has to argue with? Like, this woman likes to argue. Like, no man's interested in this shit. That's ridiculous. And even in those of you men who are bus drivers and you're making the average amount, listen, there are plenty of women out there who don't think like this, there's a whole bunch of people at that level of life, and there's nothing wrong with being at that level of life. Not everybody is trying to make $1 million. Right? And some people are okay making a certain amount, taking care of their family, having food, clothing, shelter, and they're good with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And even if you're not good with that, that's not your thing, and you're looking for a different type of person, that's fine. But you don't diss the people who are down there at other levels, because sometimes you're trying to make a point about thing A, and you're dissing a whole bunch of people and don't even realize that you're doing it. And when someone pointed it out to her, she didn't even own it and say, you know what, you're right, I get that. No, I shouldn't have said it that way. Let me say it this way. She didn't do that. She said, no, fuck that. This is what I'm saying. And here's why I'm right and why you're wrong. And don't try to tell me I don't care about your feelings. We're not talking about feelings here. It's not my job to protect your feelings. She said that on the Breakfast Club. Go watch the interview. Y'all see it yourselves. But anyway, that's all I got to say about this point. Ladies, you're trying to find a man with resources. All right, play the game the right way. All right. With all that said, everybody have a good afternoon. Work on your game. We out here.